The Aelorian capital, Virelia Prime, shone under three pale suns. Its towers of crystal and metal reflected the soft light, creating a city that seemed alive. The streets were quiet, but the people inside their homes felt a creeping unease. Something was coming. Something the Aelorians had never seen before. The first warning came from the outer observation stations. Sensors detected a storm forming on the edge of the system, a storm unlike anything the Aelorians had recorded. It was massive, a cosmic tempest that bent space and tore at gravity. It was moving fast, and it was headed straight for Virelia. In Dari. The High Council Chamber, Elira, the head scientist of the Aelorian Research Directorate, stared at the holographic projection of the approaching storm. Her blue-scaled hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the image. "This storm," she said, her voice trembling. "It's unlike anything we have faced. Our shields alone cannot hold it." The council members murmured among themselves. "Lord," Kethar, a veteran diplomat, leaned forward. "We must send a call to the Galactic Council immediately. This is their responsibility. We cannot face this alone." Elira nodded. "Yes, we are sending the distress signal now. Every fleet, every ship capable of assistance must respond. We cannot survive without help." The Aelorians had always trusted the Galactic Council. For thousands of cycles, the Council had maintained peace and ensured that all civilizations had protection when disasters struck. The Aelorians had never doubted their allies, never questioned their reliability. But as hours passed and the storm drew nearer, hope began to fade. The first day ended with silence from the council. No reply, no fleet, nothing. By the second day, panic began to spread through the cities. Citizens rushed to shelters, their elegant wings fluttering in fear. Markets closed, transport lines stopped, and the air was filled with tension. The council chambers became a place of debate and worry. "What if they don't come?" asked Mirael, a young council member, her voice almost a whisper. "Our technology is strong, but it is not enough. The storm will destroy us." Kethar's expression darkened. "We must assume the worst. The council has priorities. Perhaps they do not see our system as important." Elira's holographic display flickered. She pointed at the storm's energy readings. "At this speed, we have less than 70 standard hours before the first wave hits. Our evacuation plans are limited. We cannot save everyone." Fear hung in the room like a thick fog. The Aelorians were intelligent, resourceful, and advanced, yet they felt powerless. Their civilization, once proud and confident, now trembled at the edge of extinction. And then, a strange signal appeared on the communication network. It was faint, unusual, and not from the Galactic Council. The Aelorians had never received messages like this before. The source was marked, "Human Fleet, Unknown Origin." The Council froze. "Humans," Kethar whispered. Humans were a minor species in the galaxy. They were known, yes, but they were still new to space travel. Most civilizations underestimated them, and many considered them fragile, short-lived, and ill-prepared for serious challenges. Elira leaned closer to the screen, her mind racing. "Why would humans respond? The storm is dangerous. Even our strongest ships may not survive it. Humans have no reason to risk themselves." A voice crackled from the human ship's communication line. It was calm, firm, and without hesitation. "We received your distress call. We are coming. Do not fear. Help is on the way." The council exchanged uneasy glances. Fear, relief, and suspicion mixed together. Elira's heart raced. She had studied humans from afar for many cycles. They were unpredictable. They often acted against all logic. But if they truly were coming, it might be the only chance Virelia had. As the humans arrived, their ships were unlike anything the Aelorians had seen. Huge, dark, and gleaming, They moved through space with power and confidence. The fleet was smaller than a Galactic Council armada, yet the energy radiating from the vessels was immense. They did not hesitate. They did not wait for permission. They came. The Elorians watched in awe as the humans began scanning the system. Elira pointed to the readings. Their shields, they are stronger than ours, and their rescue pods, they are capable of evacuating entire cities in hours. This is remarkable, Cathar nodded slowly. Remarkable indeed. Perhaps we have underestimated them. The first human ship touched down on Virelia Prime's orbital platform. From it emerged Captain Adrian Taylor, a human man in a simple uniform, carrying no weapons, but an air of authority that demanded respect. His eyes were steady as he surveyed the city below. He spoke through a translator device, his voice calm and clear. I am Captain Adrian Taylor of the human fleet. We are here to help. We do not wait for orders from anyone. Your lives are our priority. The council members were taken aback. Humans had no reason to be here. They could have stayed safely in their home system, observing and avoiding danger. Yet here they were, risking everything for strangers. For the first time, the Aelorians felt the weight of human courage. Illyra stepped forward. Captain Taylor, our shields will not hold the storm. Evacuation is the only solution. But our pods are limited. We cannot move everyone in time. Adrian nodded. We will help you. We have ships capable of holding millions. We will evacuate your citizens, protect your cities, and ensure the survival of your species. For a moment, no one spoke. The council members struggled to process the enormity of the offer. Humans, a species they had dismissed, were offering salvation when the entire galaxy had turned away. Meanwhile, on the ground, citizens began to see the humans. Families clutched their children and watched as human engineers coordinated rescue operations. They moved quickly, efficiently, and without hesitation. Alien technology, no matter how advanced, could not match the speed and adaptability of human improvisation. A young Aelorian boy, Terran, clutched his mother's hand as he stared at the humans lifting entire buildings onto shields, saving them from the storm's first waves. Mother, who are they? He asked, wide-eyed. They are amazing. His mother could only nod. They are humans, Terran, and they are saving us. The storm drew closer. Cosmic winds howled through space, and glowing fragments of energy tore through the outer colonies. Yet, despite the destruction, human ships moved like guardians through the chaos. They evacuated citizens, redirected massive debris, and formed protective barriers around cities. Every action was precise, calculated, and yet flexible, a combination the Aelorians had never witnessed. In the council chamber, Illyra recorded the events. This is history, she whispered. The humans, they are saving us when no one else would. We owe them everything. Cather's eyes narrowed as he thought of the Galactic Council. We have been abandoned, and yet these humans, they act without hesitation. They show strength, wisdom, and courage beyond their size. Perhaps the galaxy will soon understand their true value. As night fell on Virelia Prime, the three suns setting behind distant mountains, the storm's edge became visible. A glowing, swirling mass of energy and fire. Fear still lingered, but hope had returned. Humans were here. They had come when the stars turned away. Captain Adrian Taylor stood on the bridge of his flagship looking at the storm. We won't let them die, he said softly. Not today, not ever. The Virelian skies were ablaze with streaks of energy as the first human ships moved into position. Unlike anything the Aelorians had ever built, these vessels were massive, black and silver, with hulls that seemed to hum with quiet power. They glided through space with a confidence that made even the most seasoned Aelorian pilots pause. On the bridge of the human flagship, Captain Adrian Taylor studied the storm that loomed over Virelia. The cosmic tempest had grown in size, spreading shards of glowing plasma and erratic gravitational waves across the system. The Aelorians' defenses were already straining. He tapped the edge of the screen. "We can't stop the storm itself," he said calmly, "but we can protect the people. That is our mission. No one dies on our watch." His crew, humans of various ages and backgrounds, nodded. Each one understood the risk. The storm was deadly. Ships could be torn apart, but they had trained for worse, and their determination was absolute. Back on Virelia Prime, Illyra and the Council watched from the command center. A mixture of fear and awe filled the room. They just move," she said softly, "as if the storm itself is nothing to them." Mirael, still young and inexperienced, shook her head. "But why? Why would humans risk themselves for us? We are strangers to them. We have nothing to offer." Illyra's eyes did not leave the main screen. "Because humans value life, not politics, not power, not profit. Life itself matters to them. That is something the Galactic Council never understood." The first wave of evacuation began. Human ships descended toward the cities, deploying rescue pods, small, fast vessels, capable of carrying hundreds of Aelorians each. The pods were equipped with energy shields, allowing them to pass through dangerous plasma fields without harm. On the ground, chaos had begun. Citizens ran through streets cluttered with debris as warning sirens blared. Entire city sectors were threatened by the storm's advance. The Aelorians' own evacuation protocols were organized, but slow. For the first time, they relied on an outside force, something they had rarely done in thousands of cycles. A group of human engineers landed near Sector Delta, a densely populated residential area. Among them was Lieutenant Mara Quinn, a woman with sharp eyes and steady hands. She assessed the situation quickly. Buildings were collapsing, plasma shards were cutting through streets, and terrified civilians were trapped. "Spread out," Mara ordered. "Get civilians into pods. Shield them as we move. Nothing stays behind." Her team moved like clockwork. They lifted heavy debris with energy manipulators, formed temporary protective barriers, and guided citizens into waiting pods. Aelorians, watching from nearby, could hardly believe what they saw. Where their technology required calculations and protocols, the humans acted instantly, adjusting to every challenge. One young Aelorian, Terran, ran up to Mara. How are you doing this?" he asked, his wings fluttering in panic. Mara knelt to his level, smiling gently. "We care about saving people. That's all that matters. You trust us, and we will get you to safety." The boy nodded, still trembling, and followed her into a pod. The hatch closed, and with a soft hum, it lifted into the sky. Other pods followed in a steady stream, each one carrying dozens of citizens to safety. Meanwhile, in space, Captain Taylor directed the larger operations. He split his fleet into 3 groups, one to shield the orbital stations, one to clear debris and plasma clusters, and one to evacuate civilian ships caught in the storm. Every human ship moved with precision, covering gaps that the Aelorians had not even considered. A massive plasma shard suddenly tore through the orbital lane. An Aelorian transport ship, carrying hundreds of civilians, was hit. Alarms screamed as its shields began to fail. "Divert power to the shields," Taylor barked into his comms. "Mara, intercept!" Mara and her team in a smaller craft shot. Forward, energy manipulators extending from their hull. They struck the fragment, redirecting it away from the transport. Sparks of blue energy flew as the shard collided with their shields. The Aelorian ship floated safely, its passengers unaware how close they had come to destruction. From the council chamber, Elira watched every move, her mouth slightly open. They just saved hundreds in a moment that would have killed them all. Humans are not like us. They do not fear what is impossible. They act. Kethar, usually quiet and composed, clenched his hands. It is inspiring. We have been abandoned by the council, and yet these humans, they risk themselves for us. Perhaps we have been blind all this time. On the surface, more challenges arose. A residential tower had been split in two by a collapsing energy field. Families were trapped inside, unable to reach the exits. Human teams quickly set up hovering bridges, temporary energy constructs that allowed civilians to cross gaps safely. Mara led the first group, ensuring that every Aelorian made it across. An elder Aelorian approached her after the rescue. "Your people. Why do you help us when no one else would?" he asked, voice shaking with emotion. Mara looked at him, calm and determined. "Because helping is the right thing to do. Everyone deserves a chance to live. That is why humans act. Always." The elder could only nod. He had lived for centuries, seen countless wars and disasters, yet he had never witnessed such courage and selflessness. In orbit, Taylor faced another problem. A rogue energy wave from the storm was heading toward the planetary shield grid. If it hit, entire cities could be destroyed. The Aelorians' calculations predicted failure, but Taylor refused to wait. "Form a chain," he ordered. "Shields, energy absorbers, and emergency pods. We will hold the line." His fleet adjusted, moving into formation. Human ships interlocked their shields, creating a barrier that pulsed with raw energy. The rogue wave hit, and for a tense moment it seemed as though the line might fail. Then, the human fleet absorbed the shock, redirecting the energy safely into space. Below, Aelorian citizens cheered from the streets, amazed at the humans' power and bravery. Even the council members allowed themselves a small smile, though. Worry for the storm remained. As night fell on Virelia Prime, the first phase of the human operation was complete. Thousands of citizens had been evacuated. Many more were safe under protective domes erected by the human engineers. Entire city blocks had been shielded from destruction. Elira recorded the events in her log. "For the first time in our history, we face annihilation. Yet a species we barely knew has come to our aid. Humans. They are not just capable of spaceflight. They are capable of heroism." Kethar, looking out at the glowing human ships in orbit, muttered, "If the Galactic Council had acted as they should, perhaps we would not have needed them. But now, we have seen something extraordinary. A species that chooses to act, not because they must, but because it is right." Captain Taylor, standing on his bridge, surveyed the storm. He knew this was only the beginning. The cosmic tempest was far from over, and the Aelorian system was fragile. More evacuations would be needed, more shields would have to be erected, and the storm would test every human ship to its limit. Yet, in every human heart, there was no fear. There was only determination. No one would die on their watch, no matter the cost. On the streets, Terran and other young Aelorians whispered stories about the humans. "They do not give up. They do not fear," the children said. "They are heroes." And indeed, in that moment, humans were more than just a species from a distant world. They were saviors, guardians, and symbols of hope. The storm raged on, but as the first wave of humans completed their rescues, the Aelorians began to see a glimmer of something they had not felt in generations. Hope, fueled not by their own power, but by the courage and selflessness of a species the galaxy had underestimated. As Captain Taylor prepared the next phase of the operation, he spoke quietly to his crew. "We are not here to impress anyone. We are here to save lives. Remember that. Every life counts. Every action matters. Let's show them what humans can do." The storm had grown beyond anything the Aelorians had imagined. Its heart churned with blinding light and waves of energy that bent space itself. Entire planets trembled as the tempest drew closer, and for the first time, the Aelorians felt the fragility of their civilization. From orbit, Captain Adrian Taylor watched the swirling chaos. His crew moved efficiently, coordinating shields, evacuation pods, and emergency response drones. Every second counted. One mistake, one miscalculation, and thousands of lives would be lost. "Hold formation," Taylor ordered. "Energy shields at full capacity. Evacuations continue. We cannot afford hesitation." Lieutenant Mara Quinn adjusted the deployment of her rescue pods. "Captain, the storm's energy spikes are increasing. Some pods are being pushed off course." "Correct. Their trajectories," Taylor replied calmly. "If one pod goes down, we lose lives. Every pod matters. Every life matters." On the surface, the cities were chaos incarnate. Buildings cracked under the stress of gravitational surges, and glowing plasma shards rained from the sky. Aelorian, families huddled under temporary shelters, their elegant wings pressed tightly against their bodies. Fear was everywhere. Yet, through the chaos, humans moved like a force of nature. Mara led a team through Sector Gamma, where a cluster of residential towers was threatened by a falling energy spire. Using energy manipulators, her team lifted debris, guided citizens into pods, and deflected dangerous shards with shields that glowed like liquid metal. "Move faster," she called. "The spire will collapse in less than 30 seconds." Her team obeyed without question. Every human acted with a combination of bravery and instinct that left the Aelorians stunned. Taran, the young boy who had watched humans save lives before, clutched his mother's hand tightly. "Mother, they are amazing. They do not fear anything." His mother whispered, "They are different, Taran. They are what heroes look like in..." Orbit, Taylor faced another crisis. A rogue plasma wave had torn a path through the outer colonies. Several evacuation transports were caught in its path, and shields alone could not hold. Taylor's eyes scanned the situation, and a plan formed in his mind. "Form a barrier chain," he said. "Use the absorption pods. Intercept the wave before it reaches the transports. Everyone else prepare for rapid evacuation." Human ships moved into position instantly. Shields interlocked, energy absorbers hummed, and the rogue wave slammed into the human formation. Sparks of energy danced across the void as the wave collided with the shields. For a tense moment, it seemed as though the barrier might fail. Then, slowly, the energy was redirected safely into space. Not a single transport was lost. Elira watched from the council chamber, her mouth open in awe. They just absorbed a wave that would have destroyed entire cities. How can one species be so fearless? Kethar shook his head slowly. "We have relied on the council for centuries. They would have done nothing. Humans, they act. They do not wait. They do not hesitate." On the ground, Mara's team faced another challenge. A residential block had split in two, with citizens trapped inside. The gap was wide, and falling debris made it impossible for Aelorians to escape on their own. "Form a bridge," Mara commanded. Energy constructs stretched across the gap, shimmering with strength. One by one, the civilians crossed safely. Mara stayed behind to ensure the last few made it through. An elder Aelorian grabbed her hand. "Why risk your life for us?" he asked. His voice trembled with disbelief. Mara smiled. "Because it is the right thing to do. Everyone deserves a chance to live. That is why humans act, always." Even as the storm battered the city, humans never wavered. They coordinated with precision, improvising when necessary. When one shield generator failed, another team moved in, creating a temporary replacement in seconds. When a pod was trapped in debris, a human team used grapplers and manipulators to free it. saving hundreds of lives in minutes. In orbit, Taylor received reports of a massive gravitational surge heading toward the planetary core. If it struck, the entire planet could destabilize. The Aelorians' calculations predicted near total destruction. Taylor's expression was calm, almost serene. "Divert all available energy to the core shields," he ordered. "Prepare emergency pods for mass evacuation. We will hold the planet together. No one dies on our watch." Human ships positioned themselves around the planet, forming a glowing cage of energy. The gravitational surge hit, sending shock waves across the surface. Buildings shook, streets cracked, and panic spread. Yet the human fleet absorbed and redirected the energy. The planet shuddered, but it did not break. Below, Aelorian citizens looked up at the sky. "They saved the planet," someone whispered. "They saved us all." Terran watched, eyes wide. "Mother, they are not like anyone else. They are more." Illyra, still monitoring the battle, nodded. "More indeed. They are capable of courage, ingenuity, and selflessness that no calculation can predict. Humans, they are something else entirely." As the storm reached its peak, human crews faced the most dangerous challenge yet. A series of plasma tendrils that tore through space like fingers of fire. Each tendril could destroy a city, a fleet, or an entire orbital station. The Aelorians' attempts to predict and defend against them were failing. Taylor assessed the situation. "Split into multiple teams. Use speed and coordination. Distract, redirect, and absorb. We cannot stop the storm, but we can save lives." Human ships darted forward, weaving through plasma tendrils with astonishing agility. Shields flared, energy absorbers glowed, and emergency pods raced to intercept civilians. Every move was precise, yet adaptive. If a shield failed, another ship took its place. If a pod was trapped, another team freed it. Mara led her team into the heart of Sector Beta, where a plasma tendril threatened to crush several city blocks. Using synchronized energy pulses, her team redirected the tendril away from the city. Sparks flew, and the ground trembled, but the civilians were safe. "Captain Taylor," Mara reported, "Sector Beta is clear. Evacuations proceeding at 90% efficiency." Taylor allowed a brief nod. "Good. Keep it up. Every second counts." Meanwhile, the storm continued its chaotic dance, but human ingenuity never wavered. They anticipated challenges before they occurred, adapted to unexpected threats, and remained calm under pressure. The Aelorians watched. Astounded, Illyra recorded her observations. "In all my years of study, I have never seen a species respond with such courage and skill. The humans, they do not fear, they act. They save lives when all else fails." Even Kethar, hardened by centuries of diplomacy and politics, could not hide his admiration. If the Council had sent their fleets, they would have hesitated. Humans, they do not hesitate. They do not fail when it matters most. On the ground, Terran and other children watched humans in action. "They are not like anyone else," Terran whispered. "They are heroes." And, in orbit, Captain Taylor issued a final order for the phase. "Focus on the final cities, shield them, evacuate as many as possible. We do this together, or we do not do it at all." The human fleet moved as one. Pods raced to evacuate civilians, shields flared to block plasma, and engineers repaired damage instantly. The storm raged, but the humans turned the tide. Lives were saved, cities preserved, and hope returned to the hearts of the Aelorians. By the end of the storm's first peak, the humans had accomplished the impossible. Thousands of citizens were safe, entire city blocks were intact, and the planet's core remained stable. The Aelorians were stunned, grateful, and inspired. Captain Taylor looked at his crew. "This is not over," he said. "The storm will return stronger. But we are humans. We do not give up. We do not stop. We save lives. That is what we do." And for the first time in generations, the Aelorians believed in a future, not because their own technology was enough, but because humans had shown them the meaning of courage, selflessness, and ingenuity. Where the Galactic Council had turned away, humans had arrived. Where fear ruled, humans brought hope. And where the impossible seemed inevitable, humans made it possible. The storm had passed, leaving the Virelian system battered but alive. Cities that once teetered on the edge of destruction now stood, scarred but standing. Streets were cracked, buildings damaged, and the air was thick with dust and energy residue from the tempest. Yet the people were alive, and for the first time in generations, hope filled their hearts. Captain Adrian Taylor stood on the bridge of the flagship, surveying the aftermath. The storm had tested every human ship, every crew, and every plane. But they had survived, and, more importantly, so had the Aelorians. Lieutenant Mara Quinn approached him, pointing to the readings on her screen. "The planetary shields are holding. The evacuation is complete. Minimal casualties. Everyone we could save." "We did." Taylor nodded, but his expression was serious. "We're not done yet. The system is damaged. Cities need protection. Infrastructure needs repair, and civilians need reassurance. Humans don't just save lives. We help rebuild them." On Virelia Prime, Elira moved through the streets with other council members, observing the human crews as they worked tirelessly. They repaired broken shields, stabilized buildings, and coordinated supply lines for the affected citizens. Every human seemed to act with purpose, precision, and compassion. "Look at them," Miriel said softly. "Even after facing the storm, they keep helping. They do not rest. They do not stop." Elira nodded, her eyes filled with admiration. "They are teaching us something we have long forgotten. Courage and action can rebuild a system faster than any technology alone. Humans, they inspire." In the northern sector of Virelia Prime, a team of human engineers worked to restore the central power grid, damaged during the storm's peak. The energy lines were twisted and sparking, threatening further destruction. Lieutenant Jared Madsen, a human engineer, crouched beside a malfunctioning node. Sparks flew dangerously close to his hands. "We can reroute the main line," he said, voice calm. "But it will take precision. One wrong move, and the city loses power completely." Another engineer, Sasha Vance, moved beside him. "We do it together. We have backup lines. No one fails alone." With synchronized movements, the two humans repaired the node, redirecting power safely. The city lights flickered back to life, and cheers rose from the Aelorian citizens watching from nearby. Even the council members could not hide their astonishment. "They do not just save lives," Elira whispered to Kethar. "They restore hope. They bring life back to our world." Kethar remained quiet, observing the human teams moving from one crisis to another. "We relied on the council for guidance," he said slowly, "and they turned away. Humans, they are not just rescuers. They are teachers, showing us what true courage means." Meanwhile, Captain Taylor coordinated efforts across the entire system. Some planets were lightly damaged, while others faced severe structural threats. Human ships moved between worlds, creating temporary shelters, distributing supplies, and reinforcing planetary defenses. Every action was precise, yet adaptable. They responded to every crisis with ingenuity, speed, and selflessness. In one colony, an Aelorian city faced a threat from residual plasma surges still echoing from the storm. Buildings trembled, and citizens panicked. Mara led her team into the city center, deploying portable shields and stabilizing energy dampeners. A young boy approached her, clutching his small backpack. "Will you save our home?" he asked, eyes wide with fear. Mara knelt and smiled. "We will protect it. We will protect everyone here. Humans do not leave anyone behind." The boy nodded, hope replacing fear in his eyes. Around them, citizens began to follow human instructions, learning quickly how to avoid danger and protect themselves. For the Aelorians, this was a revelation. They had always prided themselves on intelligence, technology, and planning, yet the humans had shown them something different: action, adaptability, and courage under pressure. Back on Veralia Prime, Captain Taylor received reports from orbital teams. Sector Delta and Gamma are stable. Civilian populations are safe. Power grids restored. Structural integrity holding. Minimal casualties. He turned to his crew. "Good work. Now let's focus on long-term protection and rebuilding. The storm is gone, but recovery is just beginning." Elira approached the bridge for the first time since the storm began. She looked at the humans working tirelessly to stabilize the city. "Captain Taylor," she said, her voice trembling with gratitude, "your people, they have saved us all. We owe you everything." Taylor shook his head. "We don't save people for thanks. We save them because it is the right thing to do. That is what humans do. You can repay us by surviving, rebuilding, and remembering that life is precious." As the days passed, humans continued their work. Temporary shelters became functional homes, damaged buildings were reinforced, and food and medical supplies were distributed efficiently. They taught the Aelorians how to stabilize energy grids, strengthen structures, and plan for future cosmic threats. Cathar observed the progress, a sense of pride and awe filling him. "We have always considered ourselves advanced," he said quietly. "But humans, they are beyond our understanding, not just in strength or technology, but in heart, in will. They do not wait for permission or glory. They act because it is right." Even the young, like Terran, were inspired. Children watched humans coordinate complex tasks, manage crises, and remain calm in chaos. They began mimicking the humans' actions, learning courage, teamwork, and problem-solving. "This is more than a rescue," Miriel said to Elira. "Humans are teaching us how to survive as a species, not just now, but for the future." Elira nodded. "Yes, and one day we will repay that lesson by standing ready for others in need. Humanity has shown us the way." On the outskirts of the capital, Mara led her team to inspect residual storm damage. One building threatened to collapse entirely, endangering nearby civilians. Using precise energy manipulations, the humans reinforced the structure, preventing disaster. An elder approached Mara, his eyes filled with tears. "Your people. They risked everything, faced the storm itself, and now they rebuild what was broken. Why? Why do you care so deeply?" Mara smiled gently. "Because we believe life is precious, because no one deserves to face death alone. That is why humans act. That is what makes us who we are." Even the Aelorians who had once doubted humans began to speak of them in awe. "They are fearless," one said. "They are powerful, but not for domination. They use their strength to protect. They are heroes." Captain Taylor knew their mission was far from over. "We will not leave until every life is safe, every city stabilized, and every citizen ready to face the next challenge. Humans do not stop at saving lives. We rebuild, protect, and inspire." In the council chambers, Elira and Cathar debated the lessons they had learned. "We relied too much on the council," Elira said. "They turned away when we needed them. Humans, they acted without question. They chose life over politics." Cathar nodded slowly. "And in doing so, they changed our world. Perhaps they will change the galaxy too." If all species acted as humans do, there would be no need for fear, no need for abandonment. As the sun rose over Verelia Prime, casting soft light on the repaired streets and glowing shields, Captain Taylor addressed his crew. The storm has passed, but our work is not finished. Humanity does not wait for thanks. Humanity acts. We save lives, we rebuild, and we leave hope wherever we go. Remember that. Every action matters. The Verelian system had begun to breathe again. The storm had passed, and the cities were slowly returning to life. People ventured out from shelters, inspecting the damage, helping neighbors, and learning how to rebuild their homes. But above all, the Aelorians remembered the humans who had saved them. Captain Adrian Talor stood on the bridge of the flagship, looking down at the shining cities of Verelia Prime. He knew their mission was nearing its end. The evacuation was complete. The storm had been managed, and the citizens were safe. Yet, leaving a system that had suffered so much was never easy. Lieutenant Mara Quinn approached him. "Captain, the last of the civilians are secure. Repairs are underway. The system is stable." Taylor nodded. "Then it is time. Humanity does not stay when its work is done. We leave, but we leave hope behind." Below, the Aelorian Council gathered to honor the humans' efforts. Elira addressed the crowd, her voice calm but filled with emotion. "We have survived because of the courage, ingenuity, and selflessness of humans. They came when no one else would. They saved our lives, our cities, and our future. Today, we honor them not just as saviors, but as teachers and heroes." Cathar stepped forward. "For generations, we trusted the Galactic Council to protect us. They turned away when we needed them most. Humans did not. They acted, and they have shown us what true courage looks like. Let their example guide us forever." Citizens cheered, raising their voices in gratitude. Children waved, adults bowed, and elders wept. Even the young boy Taryn, who had first seen the humans in action during the storm, smiled widely. "They are amazing," he whispered. "They are not like anyone else." Mara and her team walked through the streets, receiving thanks from every corner. Elorians approached, offering gifts, words of gratitude, and gestures of respect. Mara smiled at them all. "We do not need gifts," she said softly. "Your lives are the reward. Humanity acts because it is right. That is enough." The council had arranged a formal ceremony in the central square. Captain Taylor and his senior crew were invited. As they approached, thousands of citizens watched in silence, awe evident in every face. The humans did not seek praise, yet they accepted it graciously, understanding its importance to the Aelorians. Elira spoke again. "Humans have given us more than survival. They have given us hope, courage, and a lesson that will guide us for generations. They have shown us that in the darkest hours, action, bravery, and compassion matter more than all the technology in the galaxy." Taylor stepped forward, his voice calm but carrying authority. "We did what any human would do. Life is precious, and it deserves protection. We did not act for recognition or reward. We acted because it was right. You, the people of Verelia, now have the chance to continue, rebuild, and grow stronger. That is our reward." The crowd erupted in applause, not just for the humans, but for the spirit they represented. A spirit of courage, selflessness, and hope. A spirit that the Aelorians had forgotten in centuries of reliance on the Galactic Council. After the ceremony, Taylor and his crew prepared their ships for departure. Engineers conducted final checks, ensuring that every system was operational. The humans had given their all to the Verelian system, and now it was time to return home. Mara looked at the cities one last time. "Will they be okay without us?" she asked softly. Taylor placed a hand on her shoulder. "They will be fine. They've learned what we do. They've seen courage, ingenuity, and teamwork. Humans don't just save lives, we inspire, and inspiration lasts far longer than shields or ships. As the human fleet lifted off, the Alorians gathered along the streets and orbital platforms. Ships glided into the sky, leaving trails of glowing energy. Citizens waved, cheered, and called out their thanks. Children like Terran shouted, "Goodbye! Thank you!" From orbit, Taylor watched the system one final time. "Remember," he said to his crew, "humanity does not act for glory. We act because it is right. We leave hope behind, but we never stop acting." The journey home was quiet. The crew reflected on the events in Virelia, knowing they had done something remarkable. They had faced a cosmic storm, saved an entire system, and changed the hearts of a species that had once relied on others for protection. Back in Virelia, life slowly returned to normal. Streets were repaired, citizens resumed their work, and children played where debris had once blocked their way. Yet the memory of the humans remained. Stories of bravery, ingenuity, and selflessness spread from one generation to the next. Humans became a symbol of hope in a galaxy that often turned its back. Elira documented everything in the Grand Archives. "The humans," she wrote, "did not act for power or recognition. They came when all others turned away. They saved lives, rebuilt cities, and showed us a new path. From this day forward, humanity is a standard by which courage and heroism are measured." Kethar, walking through the rebuilt streets, spoke quietly to Miriel. "We have seen what a species can do when it acts with heart and courage. The Galactic Council failed us. Humans succeeded. Perhaps one day we will carry their lessons to others in need." Terran and other children played in the streets, pretending to be humans rescuing citizens from imaginary storms. "I will be like them one day," Terran said to his friend. "I will save lives, just like the humans did." In the council chambers, Elira looked at the stars, imagining the humans returning to their distant system. "They have shown us what is possible," she said softly. "Not just survival, but courage, compassion, and hope. We must honor their legacy by living differently, by acting with purpose and heart." Months later, when the Aelorians looked up at the night sky, they remembered the humans who had come when no one else would. Stories spread beyond Virelia Prime, reaching distant systems. A species that had once been underestimated became a symbol of heroism across the galaxy. Captain Taylor and his crew returned to human space, their mission complete. They had faced impossible odds, endured a cosmic storm, and saved thousands of lives. Yet they did not boast. They did not seek fame. They acted because it was right, and the galaxy would remember them, not for their power, but for their courage, selflessness, and heart. In Virelia, a monument was built, a simple structure glowing with energy, inscribed with the words, "When the stars turned away, only humans came to rescue us." Children touched it, elders bowed, and every citizen remembered the humans who had changed their lives. The Aelorians understood something vital. In a universe that often looked away, courage and action could make the impossible possible. And somewhere among the stars, Captain Taylor looked at the monument through a communicator projection. "We did what we could," he said softly. "We act because it is right. That is all any of us can do." The humans had come. They had saved lives, and they had left a legacy, a lesson in courage, hope, and the power of acting when others fail. The Virelian system would rebuild stronger and wiser, forever carrying the memory of humanity's heroism. In the hearts of the Aelorians and in the stories that spread across the galaxy, the humans became a legend. Not because of weapons or fleets, but because of their courage, their selflessness, and their unwavering commitment to life itself.